Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a virtual program, a collaboration between the Alzheimer's Association and Summerfield Custom Wellness. And the programs that are going to be tonight are Hydrate for Health. Caroline is going to do that one. And then we have a Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body, tips from the latest research. And Amy Bauman will be doing that. Each program will be about 25-30 minutes. And just with all the Zoom etiquette, of course, keep yourself muted. If you've got questions, drop them in the chat box throughout. But of course, we'll have time to answer any questions at the end as well, too. So to kick us off is Caroline, and she is a licensed and registered dietitian and nutritionist. She works with patients and corporate wellness clients in the Wilmington area. And she really likes working with her clients because she's had seen the healthy lifestyle changes to tackle high cholesterol, which is definitely an indicator related to Alzheimer's and dementia, kind of inspired her interest in nutrition and health. And she likes this career because it gives her the opportunity not only to help people, but combines a love of science as well too, and being able to work with clients one-on-one with a really customizable approach is something that's important to her. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Caroline.
Thank you, Brooke. Well, good evening. Summer is right around the corner, and that means the weather is warming up. This means that proper hydration is even more crucial. Today, we're going to dive into hydration for health. As Brooke said, my name is Caroline. I'm a dietitian with Summerfield Custom Wellness. Proper hydration is often one of the first things I discuss when working one-on-one with clients. It is so important for our health. So go ahead and grab a water bottle, grab a glass of water, and let's dive in. Did you know water makes up 60 to 70% of our bodies? This does depend on our stage of life, as babies have a higher water content than adults. The brain and heart are both roughly 73% water. Our brains need the water as a shock absorber for protection against the skull. Water is also essential for hormone and neurotransmitter production in the brain. The lungs are 83% water, and they require water for their mucosal lining. Our skin is about 64% water, which serves to regulate our body temperature through sweat and respiration. Our muscles and kidneys are around 79% water each. Water helps the kidneys send out toxins through the urine. Even our bones are around 31% water. Did you know most humans can survive a month or more without food? We can pull energy from our fat cells to keep us going for quite some time, if absolutely necessary. To be clear, I am not recommending a starvation diet. This is not a good idea. We always do best when we have a nice, varied diet. But as the last case scenario, this is an option for the human body. However, this is not the case with water. We can only live days without water. Dehydration starts quickly. When dehydration occurs, our body starts pulling from our stores. And as we saw in the last slide, water is stored in some very important organs. So once we tap into those reserves, we're putting ourselves at risk. Did you know thirst is not a good indicator of hydration? When we're thirsty, it's likely we're already dehydrated. Therefore, it's important to be proactive with water and to drink it consistently throughout the day. We're going to cover a lot of information today in 25 minutes, so hold on tight. We're going to dive into the functions of water, dehydration and diuretics, electrolytes, water needs and hydration status, and we'll end on some tips for staying hydrated. My goal is for you to identify the importance of proper hydration and what counts as water, recognize the vital roles water plays in the body and overall health, choose hydration strategies that work for you, and lastly, float through life making healthy choices with ease. Let's start with the functions of water. First, water lessens the effects of extreme temperatures on our body. This helps keep our ideal body temperature range to prevent heat stroke or other adverse effects. Second, water helps to cool us down. When our body temperature rises, our blood vessels dilate, increasing perspiration or sweating. Perspiration evaporates on the skin, cooling the body. Third, water is essential in chemical reactions that take place in the body. Water serves as a solvent for molecules involved in metabolic processes. Fourth, water is necessary to keep pH balance. This is our acid-base balance in the blood. Lastly, water makes up our body fluids. Our body fluids are used for transport, shock absorption, lubrication of the joints, and cleansing. Additionally, our kidneys are the final filtration system to eliminate byproducts through the urine. Water is needed to facilitate volume for elimination. I wanted to touch on fiber briefly. Water and fiber work together to move waste and byproducts from cellular metabolism out of the body. Dietary fiber, also referenced as bulk or roughage, is the portion of plant-derived food that cannot be completely broken down by human digestive enzymes. The body can't digest fiber, and thus whole foods, mostly plants, tend to take more energy for the body to break down, and not 100% of the calories are absorbed. Therefore, foods like veggies are beneficial at filling us up without providing as much caloric energy as some other foods. Whole foods rather than fiber supplements are generally better. Fiber supplements such as Metamucil don't provide the variety of fibers, vitamins, minerals, and other beneficial nutrients that foods do. On average, American adults eat 10 to 15 grams of total fiber per day. This is only half of our daily fiber needs. It's recommended to consume around 25 grams of fiber per day for most women and around 38 grams of fiber per day for most men. Fiber needs do lower a bit after the age of 50. The recommendation is 21 grams for women and 30 grams per men. This is due to most people being less active and consuming less water as they age. Keep in mind, these are general recommendations. Some people may need less or more fiber, depending on their past medical history and digestive health. There are two different types of fiber. We want to consume both types. Soluble fiber dissolves in water and contains plant pectins and gums. We can find this in things like legumes, oats, and some of our fruits and veggies. Soluble fiber can help lower blood cholesterol and glucose levels. Insoluble fiber does not dissolve in water. It attracts water into your stool, making it easier to pass and promoting bowel health and regularity. We can find this type of fiber in wheat bran, nuts, beans, and other vegetables. No matter what type of fiber, we need water for them to be activated and do their job in our body. I like to think of fiber and water as best friends. Next time you see your spouse or best friend, you can tell them, "You're the fiber to my water." Then you may need to explain why you said that and what that actually means. Let's move on to dehydration. Here are some classic symptoms of dehydration: extreme thirst, less frequent urination, dark colored urine, fatigue, dizziness, and confusion. I've had several patients report when they start focusing on achieving their daily water goal, they notice clear thinking, more energy, and a natural desire to want to drink more water. One thing to note, it's easy to confuse our hunger and thirst cues if we're dehydrated. Our bodies are smart. When we're not providing our bodies with adequate water, we may feel hungry because our bodies know we can extract liquid from food. Thus, it's very challenging to properly assess our hunger if we're not well hydrated. And talking about this is really making me thirsty. This is a urine chart, and it can be used a useful tool to check hydration status. If the urine is a diluted lemonade color, that's normal. If the color is brighter or a darker lemonade color, this is a sign of mild dehydration. If the color is more golden with a deeper hue, this is likely a sign of dehydration. Keep in mind, in the morning, the urine color is likely going to be more concentrated. For most people, the color is between a 5 and 8 first thing in the morning. One caveat to this is our B vitamins. So B vitamins are water soluble. Therefore, the B vitamins your body does not absorb are excreted into the urine, turning the urine a bright yellow color. If you've ever taken a B complex supplement, you may have experienced this. It's not a bad thing, it just means that the color of your urine is not a good indicator of hydration status. There are several causes of dehydration. One cause is simply not drinking enough water. This may be due to being sick, busy, or lack of access to safe drinking water if you're traveling or on the go. Some other potential causes are diarrhea or vomiting, where we're losing additional water. Fever, excessive sweating, and hot temperatures can also cause dehydration. Keep in mind, elderly and children are more susceptible to dehydration. Our sensitivity to thirst declines with age. Diuretics are another cause of dehydration. Let's talk about what these actually are. Diuretics, commonly called water pills, are the oldest and some of the least expensive class of drugs used to treat high blood pressure. These help the kidneys eliminate sodium and water from the body. This process decreases blood volume, so the heart has less volume to pump with each beat, which in turn lowers blood pressure. People with heart failure who often gain weight because their bodies hold on to excess fluid are often prescribed diuretic medications. Alcohol can dehydrate you and is a diuretic. It causes your body to remove fluids from your blood through your renal system at a much quicker rate than other liquids. If you don't drink enough water with alcohol, you can become dehydrated quite quickly. Caffeine has been shown to be a mild diuretic, which means you may use the restroom more. However, with moderate intake, you're likely not at an increased risk of dehydration. Moderate intake of caffeine is about 3 or fewer cups of coffee per day. That's about 300 milligrams of caffeine or less per day. Keep in mind, an 8-ounce cup of coffee is going to be about 100 milligrams of caffeine. If we start our day with coffee and end our day with alcohol, we may want to pay special attention to our hydration status. If anyone's a country music fan, you may be familiar with the Luke Combs song called Beautiful Crazy. The lyrics say, "Her day starts with a coffee and ends with a wine." When I hear that song, my dietitian brain thinks, she may need to add some additional water to her day. The rule of thumb is having 5 or more cups of coffee requires an additional 8 to 16 ounces of water per day. And we should aim for extra water for each alcoholic beverage we consume to ensure we wake up feeling optimal the next day and prevent that dehydration that causes the hangover feeling from alcohol. So what does this mean for alcohol? For every 12 ounces of beer or 6 ounces of wine, try to aim for an extra 16 ounces of water to stay hydrated and feel your best. We often hear reference to electrolytes when speaking about hydration or physical activity. Let's dive into what these actually are. Electrolytes are electrically charged minerals that dissolve in water. They have positive or negative charges. The most common electrolytes in the body are sodium, chloride, magnesium, calcium, and potassium. Our electrolytes are responsible for fluid balance. Water is attracted to solutes, and it follows solutes when moving inside our body. Solutes are essentially the broken down or dissolved electrolytes. If we're overhydrated, this will cause too many solutes to travel inside the cell. The water follows the solutes into the cell, causing a swollen cell. This swollen cell is at risk for popping. If we're dehydrated, more solutes move to the outside of the cell. Water moves out of the cell following the solutes, causing a shrunken cell. Ideally, we want an even amount of solutes inside and outside the cell. We can do this by consuming enough electrolytes, but not too many, along with staying properly hydrated. Electrolytes play several critical roles in the body. They help to regulate the fluid levels in your bloodstream and your body, keep the pH of your blood at a normal range, enable muscle contractions, including the beating of your heart, which is a muscle, transmit nerve signals from heart, muscle, and nerve cells to other cells, help clot blood, and help build new tissue. There are several potential causes of electrolyte imbalance. These causes are similar to dehydration causes due to electrolytes being lost through water. We don't have enough time to touch on each of these causes in detail, but I did want to touch on some sources of electrolytes. There's a few different sources of electrolytes. One source is food. The typical American diet provides a lot more sodium than potassium. We get potassium mostly from fruits and veggies. Table salt is a source of two electrolytes, sodium and chloride. Supplements are another source of electrolytes. Calcium and potassium are often found in multivitamins. Water enhancers may contain electrolytes and also provide flavoring. Sports drinks such as Gatorade contain electrolytes. We should only be consuming sports drinks if we're exercising intensely for more than an hour or if we're severely sick and experiencing vomiting and diarrhea. Like most other nutrients, it's best to consume electrolytes through real food. There are cases where it may be appropriate to consume additional electrolytes through supplements, water enhancers, or sports drinks. This does vary by person and situation. Let's talk about our water needs. Unfortunately, the body has no capacity to store water, so it must constantly be replenished. Here's a quick refresher on fluid measurements. I know I have trouble remembering some of these conversions, so it's helpful to review. These can be useful when setting a personal water goal. Keep in mind, 8 ounces of water equals 1 cup. If we consumed 8 cups of water per day, that's 64 ounces, which is half of a gallon of water. 1 gallon of water is 128 ounces. So how much water do we actually need in a day? Individual water needs depend on many factors, including your health, how active you are, and where you live. No single formula fits everyone, but knowing more about your body's need for fluids will help you estimate how much water to drink in a day. One rule of thumb is drinking 8 cups or 64 ounces of water per day. For some, fewer than 64 ounces may suffice. In my experience, many clients have found that 64 ounces per day is a good minimum, but may not be quite enough. Another rule of thumb is dividing your weight in half and drinking that amount in ounces. For example, if someone weighs 150 pounds, 150 divided by 2 is 75, so that would be 75 ounces of water per day. You might need to modify your total fluid intake based on a few special considerations. First, exercise. If you do any activity that makes you sweat, you need to drink extra water to cover for that fluid loss. It's important to drink water before, during, and after a workout. If exercise is intense and lasts more than an hour, a sports drink can replace electrolytes in your blood lost through sweat. The American College of Sports Medicine recommends adding 12 ounces of water to your daily intake for every 30 minutes that you plan to work out. Second, you may need to drink more water if you consume a high salt diet, lots of processed foods, or restaurant foods, which tend to be much higher in sodium. Third, our environment. It plays a huge role in our water needs. Hot or humid weather can make you sweat and requires additional fluid intake. Dehydration can also occur at high altitudes. Lastly, pregnancy or breastfeeding increases fluid needs. Women who are pregnant or breastfeeding need additional fluids to stay hydrated. The Office on Women's Health recommends that pregnant women drink about 10 cups of fluids daily, and women who breastfeed consume about 13 cups of fluids daily. For individuals who have trouble with digestion, this consideration is for you. Drinking water during meals may not be helpful or ideal in aiding in digestion. Water dilutes stomach acid and interferes with digestive enzymes. Allowing for an hour in between meals and drinking water can help the body digest better and give the body a better chance to absorb the food's nutrients. For those who suffer from digestive distress, Try to eat without water can help the stomach acid and enzymes be more concentrated for better digestion. There is a such thing as too much water. Too much water can lead to hyponatremia or water intoxication. This can be caused by rapid consumption of large quantities of fluids that greatly exceed the kidney's ability to excrete fluid. The kidney's filtration rate is about 27 to 34 ounces of water per hour. To avoid this, simply don't drink all your water at once. Spread it throughout the day. Hyponatremia or water intoxication is rare. If it does happen, essentially the electrolytes are diluted. The electrolytes move into the cell, causing the cell to fill with water, which can lead to the cells bursting. We talked about how much water. Now let's dive into what counts as water. So water counts as water. I'm sure that's no surprise to anyone. Infused waters. This is plain water infused with fruits, veggies, or herbs. I love making infused water with watermelon and basil when watermelon is in season. You can also purchase infused water like the brand Hint, that's spelled H-I-N-T, which has it already in there for you if you want a good grab and go option. Sparkling water like LaCroix, Bubbly, Perrier, and Polar also count as water. Herbal tea and decaf coffee count as water too. Keep in mind, we cannot count a beverage that has sugar, sweeteners, or caffeine as water. Let's dive into some tips for staying hydrated. Food can help us stay hydrated, specifically fruits and veggies. They provide water and electrolytes such as potassium and magnesium. On the left side, we have a list of what foods count as half a cup of water. On the right, we have a list of foods with high water content. These are all fruits and veggies. Another tip for staying hydrated is taking advantage of reusable water bottles. There are so many options to choose from. There's gallon jugs, half-gallon jugs, spill-proof, collapsible, Brita filter, some with markings on the side, insulated bottles, some with infused herbs and fruit, even some smart technology water bottles. Keep in mind about cleaning it. Those with a straw can be a bit challenging to ensure you're getting any moisture out when cleaning to prevent bacteria growth or buildup. Plastic is not ideal. Glass or metal are better options when it comes to reusable water bottles. I found that I prefer a glass water bottle with a straw. For some reason, I'm more likely to drink water if I have a straw. So find what works best for you. Another tip is setting a goal. Consider having a bottle or container that makes it easy to know how much water you've consumed. For example, I know that this water bottle is 16.9 ounces. If I had a goal to drink 64 ounces of water per day, I know I need to drink 4 of these throughout the day. If I wanted to make the goal more specific, I could plan to drink 1 bottle before breakfast, 1 between breakfast and lunch, 1 between lunch and dinner, and 1 after dinner. That's just an example. Find what works best for you. If you're a long way from your goal, start slowly and increase a little bit at a time to get closer. Another tip is setting a water drink reminder. This could be on your phone or work calendar. I found this tip to be super helpful for several clients, especially if they're just getting in the habit of drinking more water. There are also lots of highly rated free apps that can help you track your water. A favorite that I know a lot of people enjoy is called Plant Nanny. I know we're running low on time, so we'll probably get to questions at the end after Amy presents. As we end today's presentation, well, at least my section, I encourage you to ask yourself, what questions do I have? What did I learn today about dehydration? What applies to me and what doesn't? We covered a lot of information today. It's likely that not everything applies to you, so take what's helpful and leave what's not. What do I want to do with my new knowledge? This may be evaluating how much water you're drinking currently and assessing if that's enough. Lastly, what support do I need? Helping patients find a way to become and stay hydrated is just one of the many things dietitians at Summerfield can help with. When we meet with patients, we get to know you, your goals, your health history, likes and dislikes, as well as lifestyle and other factors to help build a customized approach to guide you to becoming the healthy person that you envision. When you are ready to become the healthy person you envision, contact us via phone or email to schedule your initial appointment with one of our dietitians. We are in network providers with Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, and United Healthcare. Thank you so much for joining me today for Hydrate for Health.
Thank you so much, Caroline. And I will give a plug for Summerfield that I used them personally several years ago with a former position. And because of that, I am now gluten-free. So I don't know if that is very awesome or not, but they were so accommodating and really listened. Hey, new mom, what can I do to fit into this realm? So just an extra plug for them on a personal level. And I will go ahead and introduce Amy. Amy is one of our volunteer community educators with the Alzheimer's Association. And she comes to us because of a personal connection of losing her father to the disease a few years ago and the journey that she's had with them as a caregiver as well too. And she is professionally, she is a realtor with Navigate Realty here in Wilmington, but then has also been, or still is actually, a yoga and mindfulness instructor and does that as well too. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Amy. Same thing, drop any questions in the chat and we can cover questions at the end. I know I've got one for Caroline at the end as well too. You're muted, Amy.
Sorry about that. I just asked if you could hear me okay, and you couldn't hear me at all. Well, I'm happy to be here, and I'm very thankful for this organization. I just came into knowing about the association through wanting to continue to learn more after I went through the journey with my dad. I didn't have this organization while I was going through the journey, so I just really want to congratulate everybody who took the time to be here tonight and to just learn a few things that they can apply now to help themselves and to hopefully resource all the things that we have available at the association to help you with any questions or any support you need, because it really is marvelous, and everybody, including you and those that you know and love that are not going through the journey, can benefit, as in our presentation tonight. Because this presentation obviously is designed for those that are on the journey, but those who are just wanting to take better care of themselves. So thank you, Caroline, for all the information about hydration. I recognize so much that I need to pay attention to that all the time. And thank you for Brooke for hosting us and taking time out to get us all together. So as Brooke mentioned, my name is Amy Bauman, and I am just a program speaker that I speak on healthy living as a community educator for the Eastern North Carolina Alzheimer's Association. And my role is just to kind of help share the information that I am given through the association, but also just my journey, so that you hopefully feel like you have somebody who's kind of walking with you if you're going through the journey with someone you love. One of the things that we want to think about before we get started tonight is just the idea that this end of the conversation is just very, I'm just going to keep it very informal and just talk a little bit about physical exercise, diet, nutrition, cognitive activity, and social engagement. And these are things that we have already pretty much in our daily lives, but we often just maybe don't recognize how important they are or put in a practice of them when we have other options that are not as healthy. So as we go through things tonight, I want you to just be easy on yourself and recognize that there are simple things that you can implement now, and then things you can get excited about re-engaging or maybe getting a little bit more disciplined about in your life to help you. So aging and health. Aging, it depends on your genes and your environment and your lifestyle, but also the lifestyle choices kind of that we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. Just some statistics of what Alzheimer's looks like in North Carolina. In 2020, there were 180,000 North Carolinians aged 65 and older living with the disease. And by 2025, that number is expected to increase to 210,000. So over 358,000 North Carolinians identify as unpaid caregivers with someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. So there's a good chance that you know someone who's having symptoms or is taking care of someone who's potentially having symptoms. And finally, the cost of Alzheimer's in North Carolina in Medicaid is 1.3 billion, with a projected increase of 22% from 2020 to 2025. And that's why we really encourage you to share this information with those you know and love, and practice them yourself, because we are looking at projected increases.
Amy, real quick. Sorry to interrupt. There's a little scratchy sound going in the background. I don't know if maybe some papers are on top of the microphone or
I'm
anything
so
like that.
sorry. Yes,
That's
thank
okay.
you for letting me know that. I'm not used to using this computer, so thank you. Is this better now?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'm
Thank you.
so sorry, everyone.
No,
I
it's
hope
okay.
you heard that. Okay. Okay. So first, one of the things we want to talk about is the brain. And for those of you that may not be able to see our screen, I will talk a little bit about what's on the slides, and then I'll go off the slides just a little bit. The brain is a control center for the body, as you probably remember or know from school. And there are about 100 billion nerve cells called neurons that are creating this branching network throughout the brain. And the signals traveling through the brain form memories and thoughts and feelings. So the thing about Alzheimer's disease that we we probably relate to and we understand when we hear it is that it destroys these brain cells. So the heart connection to the brain is what you can do to also protect your brain and your heart just through blood flow. So one of the things that we'll talk about a little bit more deeply as we go on is just the need of exercise. But it's really mind-blowing when you think about the brain depending on oxygen and adequate blood supply to work well. So every time your heart beats, 25% of your blood goes to the brain. So that's just your heart beating. So if we think about increasing our heart rate, our heartbeats, and breathing while we move, that we can potentially give lots of good nutrition through blood flow to our brain. One of the things that we want to talk about in aging is that we can think about this as genetic, but we don't want to predetermine that for ourselves. So you'll find a lot of empowerment in this conversation this evening, that you don't have to necessarily think that just because someone in your family has had this, that you need to think that you will automatically have it. You do have some power to begin to cause a little bit of a deterrent potentially for the disease and you, or just even getting stronger to cause time to allow the disease not to maybe have such an impact on you. So differences that I think a lot of people don't necessarily talk about are Alzheimer's and dementia, and there's a little bit of fear potentially around that. So just to clarify slightly, dementia is caused by many different diseases and conditions, and it's not just a normal part of aging. So there is a little bit of, we all have a little bit of memory lapse here and again, but it's not just because we have dementia. So Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. Risks for Alzheimer's and dementia include age and genetics, which we just talked about, and I'll share with you some statistics on age. But obviously, you probably know some people that are older that just don't even seem their age. So we just want to encourage you to keep learning and keep exercising and keep eating healthy, to not necessarily think of age as anything other than just a number. Head injuries also increase the risk. So maybe a brain injury or concussion. Cardiovascular factors, and fewer years of formal education. So we'll talk about that a little bit too, but just the idea to keep learning and keep growing. Therapies for Alzheimer's can treat symptoms for a time, but they cannot cure or prevent the disease or even slow down the progression. So that's why it's important to do what you can now, and that goes for all of us. So different things that you want to think about for your taking care of yourself as you age. There are kind of for those of you who can't see the slide, there's a pie, and there's 4 parts in this pie. So if you can think about it divided into 4 parts, you can think of cognitive activity, like healthy activity for your brain, physical health and exercise, diet and nutrition, and social engagement. So we'll talk about each one of these. First, let's talk about physical health. So one of the things automatically we think about with physical health is exercise. Cardiovascular activity may reduce your risk of cognitive decline. So it's just important to get out there and move. As we said, that 25% of the blood flow that goes to the brain just by your heart beating. Regular and vigorous exercise leads to the increased blood flow. So maybe just not walking from one room to the other in the house or walking to your car, but maybe getting in a nice brisk walk around the neighborhood, even if it's not that long, just twice a day. And remember, there's no single healthy recipe for brain health. So one of the things that we're bringing to your attention tonight is to just maybe grab something simple to start off with, just enjoying walking to your mailbox and maybe going a little bit further. It doesn't have to be this gigantic exercise routine. So this is just one of the 4 parts, but also with physical exercise, some of the ideas I was kind of thinking about are dancing. You know, there's simple things, even when you're watching television or something like that, you can just do side steps. I know a lot of people wear watches that guide them to take steps, but you can also take a dance class. Many of us remember dancing at one point, and we can simply mimic those old moves to our favorite song in the kitchen. Head and shoulders, knees and toes, just simply raising your arms up and taking deep breaths, doing arm circles, and you know, parking a little further away in the parking lot, you know, taking a bird walk. I've seen that on the adult education sites. There's some really awesome bird walks going on now that the weather's getting a little bit better. So kind of think about what forms of exercise that you like and start out small. Make sure that you're moving safely. You know, sometimes when you're starting new exercise routines, it's easy to not pay attention to where you're walking or that sort of thing. So we don't want to get hurt increasing our exercise. Ask friends to join you so you can combine your cognitive health and have a good conversation. And also, if there's anything that you're concerned about, please check with your doctor before you start. It doesn't mean you have to start a big, vigorous program, but if you did start something new, you want to make sure that you talk with your doctor before you start. Different things that we do know that we always want to remind each other of is to stop smoking. We know that smoking is just really, really bad for cardiovascular health and very bad for the brain. And so if you are smoking, you definitely want to stop. If you have a loved one that is, just maybe encourage them. And for those of you who are weaning off smoking, good for you. You want to avoid alcohol. I know Caroline was kind of talking about some of the situations with alcohol as it dehydrates the body. And so maybe just even choosing an alternate beverage. There's lots of mocktails now, sparkling seltzers, lots of different alternatives. And it's really supported in social groups to not drink. So that's an option. Get adequate sleep. They recommend that at least 7 hours for an adult. But if you can get more than that and you desire more than that, it's great. And you'll notice when you're exercising and eating right and hydrated that your sleep will improve. So avoid anything that could potentially cause head injury. I play pickleball, and we have a great majority of people on our league that have had some sort of physical injury, maybe a hip replacement, knee injury, or even fallen and hurt their heads. So we just encourage that if a ball is going in a zone that could cause us to leave our mind for a moment and run after it and trip or do a move that's not healthy for us, that we don't do that, that we just say, oh, it's just a ball, it doesn't matter. Manage your stress. If things are causing stress to you, just try to remember to breathe and let it go a little bit, maybe talk about it, find ways to address the situation that are a little bit less stressful for you. And if you have depression or you feel like you're blue, you want to talk to your doctor or a healthcare individual or a therapist that can help you talk about things, release things, work through things. Sometimes journaling is a really good way to let things go if you feel like you don't have anybody immediately to talk to in the moment. And then also visit your doctor regularly. For those 65 and older, Medicare pays for an annual wellness visit, and that's such a great benefit. We know that all this with exercise positively impacts your mood, and your focus. So it's great to step away and just take a break. So Other things you want to monitor is your blood pressure. And for those of you who already have blood pressure issues, you know this. For those of you who have blood sugar issues, you want to make sure that you're eating properly in conjunction with your new exercise routine. You want to watch your weight. Obviously, if you're not getting enough to eat, you want to eat enough. But if you're maybe on the side of needing to lose a few pounds, we know that there's an increased risk with obesity and just being overweight with dementia and Alzheimer's. Cholesterol, which we'll talk a little bit about in a moment, just in the way of eating more of a Mediterranean diet, choosing some vegetarian options and things like this. So you want to keep an eye on your cholesterol with the help of your doctor. So as we go further into diet and nutrition, one of the things that the CDC reported is that 42.5% of older adults older than 20, are obese. So as we mentioned just a moment ago, combined obesity with any sort of overweight increases the number to almost 74%. So you can see that there's some people that maybe not are obese, but just need to lose a few pounds. And that really can come most easily with increasing your exercise and your water intake, and then focusing a little bit on your diet. So what's good for the heart is also good for the brain. And we know that nutritious food is fuel for the brain. And sometimes it just takes starting to get on that nutritious bandwagon again, where you start to crave better and healthier things and fewer processed things. As we follow the dietary guidelines, you can reduce your risk of heart disease, cancer, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, stroke, and diabetes. Studies have shown that the DASH diet lowers the high blood pressure and improves the levels of blood lipids or fats in the bloodstream. So what is the DASH diet? It's a flexible and balanced way of eating that focuses on vegetables, fruits, low-fat dairy, whole grains, fish, poultry, and nuts. So the dynamite thing is we live in a warm weather culture, and most of the markets are open now, and the vegetables are coming. And we have exposure to wonderful fruits and vegetables here in North Carolina. We also want to emphasize a diet that's lower in sodium, so cutting back on the salt. Be careful of anything that's processed, like low-fat dressings. You might want to just choose vinegar and oil. If you're looking at things that are frozen or flash frozen, you just want to make sure that they are really containing only what you see on the package, so read your labels. Gearing toward bananas, avocados, sweet potatoes, and spinach are really great ways to increase your potassium. So just try to stay in that first part of your vegetable market, and stay with the fresh fruits and vegetables, and pack snacks for work and things like this, so you're not grabbing processed foods. So with the lean meats and fish, that's again one of the blessings we have living here close to the ocean, but most of us have access to eating fish a couple of times a week, and perhaps choosing even a vegetarian or vegan diet and cutting back on dairy products. Maybe at least twice a week with the vegan choices or vegetarian choices. You want to cut back on saturated fats and trans fats and processed foods, as we talked about. And we all know that sugar is bad. It's hard when you're tired or when you just get those cravings like Easter candy and things that were just here. But the easiest choice, like Caroline was saying, is take a big drink of water and then just reach for a healthy choice with lots of fiber. And chances are that craving will probably subside. Other things that you can think about are leafy greens and berries. So when you think about your leafy greens, we've got kale and spinach and collards that are coming out. So those are some really good choices. Going into cognitive activities, this is one of the things I think we often think about with brain health, is our memory or our cognition, where, how much can we retain? Is it coming back to us like it always has? How can we keep sharp and focused? So keeping your mind active forms new connections among brain cells. So, it's very good to have conversations. It's very good to read. Try to practice reading out loud, read an entire article and maybe share it with someone, like teaching. Cognitive activity also increases brain flow and blood flow to the brain. It's mentally stimulating activities that even improve cognition. So if you're not interested in the article you're reading, you're probably not going to be as engaged. So try to find something you enjoy, and enjoying such things as formal education. So there's a lot of wonderful continuing adult education classes. There's word searches, Wordle, maybe even going to something that you find stimulating and learning a little bit more about it and being able to just bring that to friends or family. So the formal education is great, and there's a lot of free continuing educations that you can find online. And if you are watching online, perhaps you can watch in a position where you can stand up, and that can, you can move your legs and arms around a little bit, keep your blood flowing, maybe even a Bible study, something like that. So I've kind of mentioned most of the things so far on the cognitive activity, but ongoing learning is not just for the young, and it's really something to take pride in and enjoy. And there's many opportunities in your community and that aren't necessarily live even online. So exercising our brain also, it's socially important. And I know we felt a lot of this when we were isolated in COVID, but social engagement is associated with living longer. So if you can get together with friends, sometimes it's even better to set something up on your calendar in advance and commit to something. And when that time comes near, you're more likely to go because you've made a commitment. Staying engaged with community, it's always wonderful to support others by volunteering. Remaining both socially and mentally active really supports brain health and possibly can delay dementia. Even when you go to the mailbox or something, or you see your neighbor when you're driving by, roll down a window, have a conversation. When you're at the mailbox, you might want to wave, but maybe just ask how they're doing. And all of a sudden you're in a socially engaged conversation. And as we mentioned earlier, taking a walk with a friend, is combining two birds with one stone. So if you take a healthy snack and add that into there, we've already got 3 pieces of the pie. Well, actually 4, because your cognitive therapy is working with your social engagement. So visiting with your friends and family, engaging with others, joining a club or a group, even this for me is socially engaging to be with all of you right now and learn about these things and be together and support each other in these things, learning new research and facts. There's always places to help each other. If you can combine these things, all 4 parts of the pie, you'll notice that it's starting to come more naturally. So you take care of your health with your physical activity, you get moving, eat the right things, keep your mind active and positive activity in your mind when you're not practicing something specific, just remembering to think good thoughts, and then staying connected with others is all 4 together. So things that you can do now is that you can just take a small part of what we talked about today, and many of these things I'm sure you're already doing, but just practice, adding something new. When you think about it, think of Caroline and think, oh my goodness, I should probably drink half my body weight in water in ounces. I hope I got that right. and have I done that today? Could I take another big drink before I'm thirsty? Maybe I would choose today to be a little more vegetable or plant-based than eating meat. Instead of making it a strong discipline that you feel like you have to practice, just make it fun, make it something you enjoy, make a plan, and then talk to others about doing it. If you get a neighbor to walk with you, just say, could we walk a couple days a week? And then all of a sudden you have a plan that you can follow. So it's good to be a savvy consumer. You need to be cautious when you hear huge promises or reports about miracle cures, about dementia and Alzheimer's. That's why the association, we really work hard to bring programming to you that is fact-based and is supported. We want you to do your research. We want to help you with the research. You want to consult trusted and reputable professionals. We want you to stay with good conversations with your doctor. You get that healthy visit at least once a year. Spend time asking them questions, talk to them. Don't be shy to ask your local pharmacist questions. They oftentimes have a consultation booth that you can ask the simplest of things. And of course, the Alzheimer's Association, we are here. One of the best resources among many actually, that I think that we have is the 24/7 helpline. Many of our therapists in that helpline have their master's degrees, and they are well versed, and they're available to you day and night. We have our website of alz.org that you can go to. For those of you that are not able to see the slides, our 800 number is 800-272-3900. Just so you know, 272-3900. I think that you'll find once you go on the website that we have an amazing amount of information, and our community educators do a really good job, and directors do a really good job of putting out our programs. So look for us and stay connected, and please ask any questions that you have following our presentation tonight. We're pretty open. So Brooke, I'll hand it back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate it. I didn't see, I dropped a couple things in the chat. I didn't know if anybody had any questions. I know I have one for Caroline. I think you're going to disappoint me again. So the Crystal Light packet in my water does not count in my ounces for that day, correct?
I would say it depends. So if that's your only way that you're going to drink water, use the Crystal Light. If we can kind of taper back on it a little bit, you get closer to more water, less Crystal Light, that would be better. Another option would be trying the fruit infused water. So if you wanted to try getting some flavor in that way without the Crystal Light, you could add some veggies, some herbs, some fruit. There's some wonderful fruit infused water recipes on the internet. Just Google that, and I'm sure you'll find a lot of different ideas.
Okay, well, good. That's not too bad. Then it's like at night, trying to cut out sodas and everything, that's when I have my glass at night. So I guess a glass will be okay.
Yeah, it's not gonna kill you. Another thought. Oh, sorry.
I certainly don't feel perfect either after hearing that. I know some days it's just challenging because water just doesn't taste good to me. So then I have to really make myself start. And once I start drinking, I'm better, but it's just getting started some days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one thing I find is very helpful for a lot of people, if you can get in the habit of starting your day with a glass of water, it does kind of help the rest of the day with getting that water in.
Well, good. Does anybody else have any questions that they wanted to ask? Or if you're not comfortable unmuting, you can drop them in the chat. Okay. Well, I will, Caroline and Amy, thank you so much for doing this program. And again, we'll have follow-up emails with these materials and a link to the recording that will be sent out early next week. And in the meantime, you do have my contact information, and you have Caroline's as well too. If you need to ask anybody a question or you need to get connected, please feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for joining us.
Brooke, I had one quick question. If people do want to get together, if people wanted to get together in person, some of our programs are going in person, and then of course we have the walk. But I was just wondering if they want to start connecting with others in person, how they might go about finding more information about that.
Yeah, so on the we have two chapters for North Carolina. One is alz.org/North Carolina, and that's kind of the western part of the state. And then alz.org/NC is the eastern part. But we have, there's a link on there for requests for a program. We always put our monthly public education programs on there. And of course, social media, we're on all of those, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all of those, and we'll share those things as well too. And I'm glad that you found this informative. I do too. I love having the collaborative programs because I always learn something new from Caroline as well too. So I appreciate that. And alz.org/walk, you can just type in your zip code and find where your closest walk will be. And that's definitely combines your physical health, your social engagement, and we always have plenty of water that's available at those too. So if that's something you're interested in, please join us. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.